Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and today I'm going to split up this pile of logs. Now, I've kept this pile of logs separate from all my other firewood that needs done because I purchased this pile of logs from my friend Paul Case. And I'm trying to do a little bit of a study to find out if I can make money buying logs and then selling it as firewood. So I'm keeping track of what I paid for the logs, my fuel, my time, my transport, everything that goes into it, and I want to know, is this profitable? Alright, well, I guess the next thing I need to do is get the saw started, get the splitter started, and let both of those warm up. Now this is MS-250, one of my smaller saws that I really don't run very often. About the worst thing you can do on anything like this is let it sit, so it might be hard to start today. So I mentioned I don't normally run this little chainsaw, and I thought, none of this is big diameter. I don't need a bigger saw. But man, that's slow. It's slow, and with the shorter bar, I have to bend way down. I'm not gonna use that saw for this. I'm gonna go up and get, I think the 500 has a 25-inch bar on it. I'm gonna go get that and get right back to this. A lot of times when I'm cutting rounds like this out of logs, I will pick the log up with the grapple and hold it up in the air so that I don't have to roll logs and cut it twice. But there is time involved in putting on the grapple, especially since I was going to have to switch back to the pallet forks to move the IBC totes. And I'm not sure if it really is faster to move the logs around multiple times and try to drop the rounds in exactly the right place. So I'm just using the log ox to turn the logs. And to mark the 16 inches, I use a magnet on the bar. I believe it's called AccuCut or something like that. There are a lot of factors that go into how long it takes to split firewood, from the type of equipment you're using to the type of wood you're splitting. And I kind of go into all of that at the end of the video when I break down how long this took me and how much I'll get for the wood to see if it's profitable. One thing I don't think I mentioned, but I showed in my last video, is that some of this wood is exceptionally hard to split, especially the gum, which is very stringy, and after it's split, you still have to fight with it to get the pieces apart. That is one rick. I'd say it took about 35 minutes to split. I was kind of guessing that this would take about 2 hours to split, so I started 3 hours before dark and ended up having to finish on a second day, so you'll see I'm wearing a different shirt in this next clip. And even playing this footage at 20 times speed, this was going to turn into a really long video, so I'm going to skip ahead to the last log of this load. Okay, so I have one basket here and two baskets back there. These baskets, if they're just slightly overfilled, are one face cord, one rick, 1/3 of a cord, whatever people call it in your area. Mostly here, everyone calls that a rick. You put 3 of those together, you have 1 cord of firewood. It's kind of neat little coincidence, or maybe Paul just knew exactly what he was sending me, but I got 1 cord of firewood out of those logs. Now, let's do the math. A cord of firewood here, I will sell that for $200 if they pick it up here, and I'll charge delivery if I take it to them, but delivery's a break even for me. I charge them what I think my cost is. So, $200. What did I pay for it? Well, I didn't pay anything for it. I traded my rubber for it, and those pins that I showed in the video. It was all scrap material that I was going to throw away. But I asked him, if I was here to buy this, what would you charge me? He said that was a $50 load of logs, primarily because it wasn't the best wood to work with, not the most desirable logs, and it's a smaller load than he normally sends. Said it'd be about 50 bucks. Now I'm going to figure fuel to go get it, and fuel in the chainsaws, depreciation on a chain and a splitter, all that little stuff, I've estimated about $75 for all that. Now it took me 3 hours to split these 3 bricks of firewood, and that's including getting them neatly stacked. Then when I fill a basket, moving that basket, going up and getting another basket, getting it set in place, start to finish 3 hours. I had 1 hour to go get the logs. So that's another factor, whether you're going to get them or if they're being delivered. And I had 1 hour of setup time and actually cutting those logs into rounds. So that's 5 hours for $200 of firewood minus $75 in cost. 5 hours for $125 means I was paid $25 an hour to split this up. There's 1,000 variables in that. Your process is probably different than mine. Your splitter is different than mine, slower or faster. You may not be using these. You may be loose throwing it and then stacking it again later, or putting it straight into a dump trailer. There's all different variables. The biggest variable being what I pay for the log. You might be able to get free logs, or you might have to pay twice as much. And the next major variable is how much you sell your firewood for. I think $200 a cord is pretty cheap, or pretty standard for a rural area, but there are places where they get $500 a cord. And I could charge more for this if it was seasoned oak, but it's actually got some shorter pieces mixed in, and some of them had ants in them. This one log was kind of rotten in the middle and had ants in it, and I'm gonna sell it to a friend. I may even give it to him for $180. But some people might be getting $500 a cord with free logs, and it's all different math. But I wanted this to be one point of reference, and I'll update this over time if I find more efficient ways or cheaper ways to get logs. But for right now, I'm gonna say I can make $25 an hour splitting firewood from already buying the logs. The question is that good enough? If I don't have anything else going on, I feel pretty good about making $25 an hour in the evening or in bad weather in the winter. So I'm gonna keep doing it. Now sometimes I might have other ways I can make more money per hour, and that looks like a better alternative. Probably the biggest factor that decides, is it worth it to do this, is do you enjoy being out and doing stuff like this? And if the answer is no, then it's not worth it. And the last thing I was thinking about at the end of it, as I was doing all this math about whether or not it makes sense to buy the logs, is I realized I can't see a scenario where I can harvest my own logs at a better rate than that. Let's stick to the $25 an hour. How would I have gotten, I don't have this perfect property and a process down where I could have gotten that many firewood rounds or that many logs of a good splitting diameter here for $50, 2 hours worth of work. I'm not getting a pile of logs ready to go like that. So I definitely feel like if I'm going to sell firewood at all, buying them in that form is as good a method as I'm gonna find. So I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.